Beneath the frozen veil of our planet's most desolate frontiers, something ancient stirs. Miles below the crushing weight of Antarctic ice, hidden oceans breathe in silence, untouched, unseen, and perhaps alive. These are not seas of light and warmth, but of eternal night. Worlds locked beneath glacial ceilings, where pressure could shatter steel and temperatures flirt with the limits of life itself. Yet, against all odds, there are whispers, signals of chemistry, of movement, of something that defies our understanding of survival. To explore these polar abysses is to peer through a window not just into Earth's own extremes, but into the deep mysteries of distant worlds. Europa and Enceladus, Titan, moons cloaked in ice, their own secret oceans possibly harboring the same spark we search for in ourselves. But to reach these hidden realms demands more than machinery and science. It requires courage, the kind forged by isolation and cold, by the echo of wind over a continent that remembers no footsteps. Here, explorers are specks against infinity, their breath crystallizing in air older than human history. They dig through miles of ice, not only to uncover what lies beneath, but to ask a question that has haunted us since the beginning. Are we alone? If life can exist here, in the frozen heart of our own planet, then maybe, just maybe, it exists out there too. This is not just a journey to the poles. It's a journey to the edge of life itself. Before we descend into this icy odyssey, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because what we're about to uncover may change the way we see our world and our place beyond it. There are places on Earth where sound itself seems to vanish, where the air is so cold, so dry, so ancient that it refuses to carry a whisper. Antarctica is such a place. Here, the horizon dissolves into a blinding expanse of white, and the line between sky and earth disappears. It is not silence in the way we know it, not the quiet of an empty room or the pause before speech, but a deeper stillness, a kind that humbles the mind and swallows thought. The air moves, the snow drifts, the ice cracks beneath the weight of its own eternity, and yet all of it seems to exist outside the reach of time. The explorers who first stood here described the sensation as standing on another planet, and perhaps they were right. Beneath their boots lay more than 2 miles of ice, a frozen continent larger than Europe, holding stories written long before humanity could dream of reading them. The white stretches endlessly, but within that monotony is a strange kind of beauty, crystalline, mathematical, unforgiving. Every snowflake, each shard of wind-carved ice, reflects the delicate geometry of nature's persistence. It is beauty without mercy, the kind that draws the brave and the broken alike. Those who come here are not merely scientists or adventurers. They are pilgrims, drawn by the need to confront something vaster than themselves. They come for knowledge, yes, but also for surrender, to be reduced in body and in spirit by a world that recognizes no hierarchy, no civilization, no warmth. The wind here does not speak. It screams, tearing across the plateau at speeds that can strip flesh from bone. Temperatures plunge so low that steel becomes brittle, fuel freezes solid, and breath itself crystallizes into ice. Every movement is a negotiation with death. And yet, the human presence endures. Small dots of color moving across the white, temporary and fragile, like sparks drifting across a winter sky. The ice has memory. Beneath its transparent layers lie records of time itself, trapped bubbles of ancient air, whispers from climates long vanished. Scientists have drilled deep into these frozen archives, extracting cores that stretch back hundreds of thousands of years. Each layer is a year, each trapped molecule a message. Within them, the planet speaks, of warmth and fire, of extinction and renewal, of balance lost and found again. To hold a piece of that ice in your hand is to touch the breath of an ancient forest, the smoke of prehistoric volcanoes, the residue of time when no human eye had yet looked upon the world. The data is scientific, yes, but the experience borders on spiritual. For in these frozen pages, we find both prophecy and remembrance, a mirror of our past and a warning of our future. To the early explorers, this was a blank continent, a place with no known life, no history, no reason. But the deeper they ventured, the more the illusion fractured. Beneath the ice, hidden lakes pulsed in the dark, sealed away from sunlight for millions of years. Mountains rose beneath the frozen crust. The Gambard-Sav Range, as tall as the Alps, yet completely unseen. Rivers of meltwater flowed unseen beneath glaciers, shaping the land in secret. Antarctica, once thought to be a dead world, was revealed to be alive in its own cold, silent way. Life persisted in the most unexpected forms, microbes clinging to ice crystals, organisms feeding on chemical energy rather than sunlight, cells dividing slowly across centuries. What had seemed like desolation became revelation. Even in the heart of emptiness, life had found a way. Yet, for those who dared to live here, researchers stationed through the polar night, the ice offered not only discovery but descent. The mind struggles in such isolation. 6 months of darkness stretch endlessly, with no sunrise to mark the passing of days. The wind becomes a voice, the ice a presence that presses in from every side. In that long night, humanity's fragile psychology unravels. Small sounds, the hum of a generator, the crackle of frozen walls, grow into hallucinations. The horizon, once endless, becomes a cage. Some describe it as a kind of spiritual stripping, the ice peeling away the layers of identity, leaving only raw existence. Others describe it as rebirth. In this place, one learns how thin the boundary is between life and nothingness. And yet, even amid such desolation, there is transcendence. When the storm clears and the air becomes still, the sky unveils a spectacle unmatched anywhere on Earth. The aurora australis, ribbons of light twisting and dancing across the heavens. They shimmer like liquid fire, weaving green and violet curtains across the void. Beneath them, the ice glows faintly, illuminated by a sky alive with movement. It feels as though the planet itself is breathing, the cosmos whispering secrets to the frozen ground. To witness this is to feel the pulse of creation itself, silent, radiant, infinite. No wonder so many explorers wrote of the poles as sacred ground. No wonder so many returned changed. For centuries, humankind looked to the stars to find the unknown. Yet it is here, at the end of the earth, that the unknown still reigns. The white silence is a paradox, both emptiness and abundance, death and persistence. It strips away the noise of civilization until only the essential remains. What are we, when all the warmth is gone? What drives us to seek meaning in such voids? Perhaps it is written in our nature, the same instinct that drives roots through stone, the same longing that sends probes beyond our solar system. To touch the edge of the possible is to remember who we are. And as the first chapter of this journey unfolds, we stand upon that edge, where the air burns with cold and the light fractures into crystal. Ahead lies not just the story of a continent, but of a reflection, a mirror through which we glimpse the mysteries of other worlds. For beneath this endless white, buried under eons of silence, lie oceans untouched by time. To find them, we must go deeper, past the ice, past the silence, into the heart of the unknown. Beneath the unbroken plain of white lies a labyrinth older than memory. For centuries, no one knew what slept beneath the polar ice, only that the continent itself seemed alive, shifting, creaking, whispering in the dark. The ice is not still. It flows, like a frozen ocean moving in slow motion, reshaping mountains, swallowing valleys, and hiding its secrets under layers so thick that sunlight will never touch them. To the naked eye, Antarctica seems motionless, but to those who listen, truly listen, there is sound. The low groan of ice shifting, the crack of pressure deep below, the faint echo of movement across vast glacial plains. It is the language of a living world, speaking across time. The first explorers who dared to map these hidden regions understood nothing of the enormity they stood upon. They called it a desert, an absence, a place stripped bare of all life. Yet even in those early expeditions, there were signs that the void was not empty. Instruments registered strange vibrations beneath the ice, faint signals that defied explanation. Some dismissed them as mechanical noise, others as illusion. But a few, the ones who had seen the auroras dance and heard the wind's hollow hymn, felt something deeper, that the earth itself was breathing beneath their feet. It was not until the late 20th century that we began to prove what the silence had hidden for millennia. Scientists drilled through miles of frozen crust and discovered liquid water, vast subglacial lakes sealed away beneath the ice. Lake Vostok, the most famous of them all, lay buried under nearly 4 kilometers of frozen weight. A body of water the size of North America's Lake Ontario, untouched by the surface for over 15 million years. To reach it was to puncture the past, to disturb an ecosystem that had evolved in perfect isolation since before humanity's ancestors even walked upright. Imagine the moment the drill broke through. The sound of machinery vibrating through ancient ice. The quiet hiss as trapped air from a lost world escaped into ours. The scientists above felt something close to reverence, as if they were standing on the threshold between eras. When samples were finally extracted, the discoveries were both thrilling and humbling. Microscopic life, not dead, not dormant, but living, existed in that sealed abyss. Tiny cells, thriving without sunlight, feeding on minerals, hydrogen, and the slow chemical ballet of rock and water. It was as though the rules of life had been rewritten, proof that existence could persist in total darkness, under pressures and temperatures that should have made survival impossible. Each discovery beneath the ice reshaped our understanding of where life could exist, not just here, but anywhere. If life could thrive in the buried lakes of Antarctica, perhaps it could also stir beneath the frozen crusts of Europa and Enceladus, or Titan, moons orbiting faraway giants where oceans are locked beneath endless winter. The connection was immediate and profound. Antarctica became a stand-in for the cosmos, a terrestrial reflection of alien worlds. To study its hidden oceans was to look both inward and outward, to see in the mirror of ice the possibilities of life beyond Earth. But reaching those hidden realms was not without cost. The environment here is as merciless as it is magnificent. Machines seize in the cold, metal fractures like glass. Human bodies rebel against the endless freeze. Every step, every breath is a calculation of survival. Yet despite the danger, teams of scientists return each season, drawn by the promise of discovery. They live in temporary outposts, metal shells half buried in snow, their walls creaking in the wind. Inside, life continues in fragile rhythm. Data collected, meals rationed, laughter echoing faintly against steel. Outside, the storm howls like an animal made of air. They are, in every sense, inhabitants of another world. There is something about isolation that strips humanity down to its essence. In the absence of noise, distraction, or comfort, thoughts deepen. Time becomes strange, stretching and collapsing, blending day and night into a seamless loop. Some describe it as a test of endurance. Others call it a revelation. To live in the white silence is to confront the vastness of existence directly. The cold does not lie. It reminds you, with every breath that burns your lungs, that you are temporary. It humbles you into silence. Yet amid that silence, something else emerges, a kind of communion. When the wind falls away and the stars shimmer like frost against the black sky, the ice begins to speak. You can hear it, faint but steady, the deep rumble of glaciers moving beneath you, the soft pop of trapped air escaping after centuries of imprisonment. The continent is never truly still. It shifts and murmurs like a sleeping creature, and the humans above are merely visitors in its dream. Sometimes, when the aurora arcs across the horizon, painting the snow in emerald and violet, the illusion becomes complete. The line between Earth and the cosmos blurs, and the ice feels alive in ways we cannot explain. It is easy to imagine that beneath this surface, beneath the kilometers of frozen glass, something ancient is watching, not with eyes, but with the quiet persistence of being. Perhaps life does not need light, or warmth, or even air. Perhaps all it needs is patience. And in this patience lies mystery. The scientists who bore through the frozen crust do so carefully, for every intrusion risks contamination. A single misplaced bacterium from the surface could rewrite the story of what lies below. So they proceed with reverence, machines sterilized, drills sealed, samples guarded like relics. They are not just explorers. They are custodians of time. Each vial of ice core or droplet of subglacial water carries the weight of eons. It is knowledge bought with cold and silence, and the price is isolation. Night returns quickly here. The light fades into a long twilight that never truly ends, only deepens. The temperature falls, the wind sharpens, and the stars stretch endlessly across the void. In those hours, when the camp lights flicker like candles against the dark, one feels a truth impossible to describe, that humanity's thirst for discovery is both our strength and our vulnerability. We are drawn to the edges, to the places that remind us how small we are. And yet, in that smallness, we find meaning. The white silence is not empty. It is full of history, of motion, of secrets waiting to be unearthed. Beneath it lies the pulse of the planet itself, slow and steady as a heartbeat. The explorers who have heard it know they are listening to something far greater than themselves, something that binds Earth to the stars, the known to the unknown. For in this frozen wilderness, we stand not just on the edge of our world, but on the threshold of all worlds. And beyond this threshold lies a revelation we are only beginning to grasp. A hidden ocean that may not just reflect the past of Earth, but the future of life itself. The sun sinks slowly beyond the horizon, and then it is gone, not for a night, but for months. The polar world slips into darkness, so complete that even memory begins to fade. This is the long night of Antarctica, when the sky becomes a vault of stars, and the only light comes from the faint shimmer of the aurora and the glow of human habitation, small, trembling halos of warmth in an endless sea of cold. The transition is not sudden. It creeps in gradually, the light dimming day after day until one morning there is simply no dawn. The Earth tilts, and the South Pole turns its face away from the sun, retreating into cosmic shadow. What remains is silence, stillness, and the sound of one's own breathing echoing inside layers of frost. For those who stay through the winter, the descent into darkness is both physical and psychological. The body adapts to the cold, the routine, the confinement, but the mind begins to unravel. Without sunlight, circadian rhythms dissolve. Days and nights lose meaning. Time becomes circular, measured not by hours, but by tasks. Fix the generator, log the temperature, repair the instruments, eat, sleep, repeat. Outside, the wind moves in eternal rhythm, howling across the ice like a living thing. Its voice seeps through the metal walls of the research stations, reminding everyone that beyond this fragile shell of warmth lies a world indifferent to survival. Inside, the scientists cling to their rituals. They celebrate birthdays, play music, tell stories, and share quiet laughter over rehydrated meals. But beneath the camaraderie runs a subtle tension, a shared understanding that they are suspended between worlds, isolated from civilization, confined in the belly of the frozen Earth. Some call it the Antarctic trance, a slow, creeping numbness of thought, where reality begins to blur. The endless dark plays tricks on perception. You might think you hear footsteps where there are none, voices in the static, movement in the corners of your vision. It isn't madness, not exactly, but a kind of transformation. The ice teaches its own language, and the human mind, in time, begins to listen. Outside, the auroras flicker, green fire dancing in the black sky, ribbons of light twisting and vanishing. They are both comfort and reminder that beauty here is inseparable from danger. Step outside for too long, and your breath freezes in your mask. Your eyelids crust with ice, and the air itself cuts like glass. Yet it is in these moments, when the cold presses hardest, that the sense of wonder returns. The scientists step into the dark and look up, their faces illuminated by ghostly light, and for a brief instant they are children again, small, awed, alive. The aurora whispers through the silence, its glow washing over the endless ice like the breath of the cosmos. They stand beneath it, feeling less like conquerors of nature and more like witnesses to something eternal. Isolation does strange things to time. Some nights feel endless, others vanish like dreams. Memories of the outside world grow distant, unreal. The sound of rain, the scent of trees, the color green. Even speech changes. Conversations grow slower, softer, as if everyone has learned to speak in whispers out of respect for the quiet. And in that quiet, reflection deepens. You begin to understand why so many explorers who came here returned changed. Shackleton, Amundsen, Scott, their journals were not just records of discovery, but of revelation. The ice does not merely test endurance, it reveals truth. It shows you who you are when all the noise is stripped away. Some nights, when storms rage outside and the station trembles under the assault of the wind, those inside gather by the small window to watch the fury. Snow and ice swirl in violent dance, and the sound is like thunder stretched thin. There is awe in that chaos, the recognition of nature's indifference, and of humanity's small defiance against it. The storm becomes a kind of mirror, reflecting both the fragility and resilience of life. In that moment, they are reminded why they came, to seek meaning in the unknown, to understand what lies beneath this ancient continent, and perhaps to glimpse something beyond the limits of their world. The ice, in its stillness, is a keeper of stories. Every gust of wind carves a pattern on its surface. Every flake of snow carries memory. The explorers who walk across it feel as though they are trespassing in a cathedral built not by hands but by time. Their footprints will vanish within hours, erased by the wind, and yet for that brief moment, they exist. A heartbeat of warmth on an eternal canvas. The humility of it is overwhelming. Here, human presence feels like both an achievement and an intrusion. And then there are the nights when silence feels like a presence in itself, heavy, immense, almost alive. You can sense it pressing against the walls, breathing through the cracks. Some describe it as loneliness. Others call it transcendence. It is in that silence that thoughts of other worlds arise, of the moons orbiting Jupiter and Saturn, where oceans lie beneath miles of ice just like this. The parallel is impossible to ignore. The same isolation, the same darkness, the same cold, and perhaps the same life. Antarctica becomes a reflection, not just of Earth's history, but of our cosmic potential. To stand here is to stand on the edge of two worlds, one known, one imagined. The human soul is not built for endless night, and yet it adapts. The researchers marked the passing of weeks with small celebrations, the midwinter feast, a tradition among those who brave the Antarctic winter. Tables are decorated with what little color can be found. Music echoes softly through the corridors, and laughter returns. For a few hours, the ice feels less vast. They share stories of home, of places where the sun still rises. It is a fragile joy, but it is real. And in a place where everything freezes, even fleeting warmth feels eternal. Outside, beyond the thin barrier of walls and light, the ice stretches on, a sleeping giant waiting for dawn. Beneath it, the subglacial world continues its silent existence, rivers flowing in darkness, microbes feeding in secret, ecosystems thriving beyond the reach of human eyes. The scientists above know that somewhere under their feet lies an ocean sealed away from time, and that what it holds may not only change our understanding of life on Earth, but of life itself. As the months of darkness continue, something remarkable happens. The fear fades, replaced by reverence. The explorers stop fighting the silence and begin to move with it. They learn to listen to the hum of machines, the heartbeat of the ice, the slow rhythm of their own thoughts. And in that listening, something awakens, a recognition that they are part of a much greater story. The frozen world, once seen as hostile, begins to feel like home. When at last the first hint of dawn returns, a faint silver glow on the horizon, the feeling is indescribable. After months of darkness, light becomes sacred. The sun rises slowly, touching the peaks of distant glaciers with gold. The ice sparkles, alive with color, and the wind carries a sound that almost resembles music. The long night ends, and with it, a new understanding begins. For in surviving the white silence, they have touched something eternal. The pulse of the planet, the resilience of life, the fragile beauty of existence itself. And now, with light returning to the endless white, humanity stands ready to descend even deeper, into the hidden oceans that lie beneath, and into the question that haunts every discovery. What if we are not alone? The first light of returning dawn spreads faintly across the horizon, a thin blade of gold cutting through the bruised blue of the polar sky. It doesn't rise fast, nor does it bring warmth, but its arrival is enough to shatter months of darkness. The researchers step outside their metallic shelters, eyes squinting against the pale brilliance, and for a moment, the silence that has ruled for half a year gives way to awe. Shadows stretch across the snow like black glass. Frost crystals ignite into fire. And though the temperature still plummets to lethal depths, something inside each of them stirs. A quiet defiance, a reminder that the sun still remembers this forgotten corner of the earth. The ice shimmers, alive again under the slow return of light. And as that light spreads, it illuminates the path to the next frontier, the world beneath. What had begun as mere theory is now a mission. Years of preparation, of mapping radar echoes, of deciphering seismic whispers, have led to this, the first true descent into a lake sealed beneath 4 kilometers of solid ice. They call it Lake Mercer, one of hundreds of hidden bodies of water beneath the Antarctic crust, locked away for millions of years, untouched by the sun since before the first mammals drew breath. If there is life there, it has evolved in complete isolation. It may hold forms and functions no surface organism could imagine. For the team gathered on this day, this is not just an expedition. It is a pilgrimage into the unknown. The operation is delicate, more ritual than routine. The machinery has been sterilized, sealed, prepared for months to ensure that nothing from the surface contaminates what lies below. The scientists move with precision and reverence, aware that every touch, every motion could alter something ancient. As the drill begins to turn, its mechanical hum merges with the wind's low moan, forming a haunting harmony that echoes across the endless white. Steam rises where the heated water cuts into the ice. Hours pass, then days, as the borehole descends meter by meter through ancient layers, each one a record of forgotten epics. It is like cutting through time itself, slicing past centuries of storms, volcanic ash, trapped air, and frozen memory. The deeper they go, the stranger the readings become. Sensors record shifts in temperature and density, hints of liquid far below. Instruments tremble with subtle vibrations, as though the ice itself is aware of being breached. The team watches data stream across monitors in the dim glow of their tent, breath visible in the freezing air. Conversations fall to whispers. No one says it aloud, but everyone feels it. The sense that they are nearing something profound, something that has waited for their arrival since the dawn of the planet. When the drill finally breaks through, there is no explosion, no cinematic burst, just a quiet tremor, a sigh as if the ice exhales. A rush of water, black as space, surges upward for a heartbeat before settling. It is the first touch between two worlds, the surface and the abyss beneath. The team collects the first samples with gloved hands that tremble not from cold, but from reverence. They know they are holding history. Within that vial of dark water may be answers to how life began, to how it endures, to where it might exist beyond our world. Later, under the dim light of their lab tent, they peer into microscopes, and there it is, movement. Not dust, not debris, but life. Tiny, pulsing, deliberate. Microbes that have never seen the sun, thriving in darkness, feeding on minerals and methane, alive against every law we once thought immutable. In that instant, time seems to stop. The scientists look at each other, silent, the enormity of it sinking in. This is no longer just research. This is revelation. The implications ripple far beyond the ice. If life can survive here, cut off from the sky, nourished only by the chemistry of stone and water, then the same could be true elsewhere. Beneath the ice of Europa, where Jupiter's tides stir hidden oceans. Beneath Enceladus, where geysers erupt into the void. Beneath Titan's frozen crust, where methane seas glisten in perpetual twilight. Suddenly, the polar continent no longer feels remote. It feels connected, like the reflection of something cosmic. Antarctica becomes not the end of the Earth, but the beginning of the universe's story of life. The team celebrates quietly, though celebration feels inadequate. Outside, the storm has calmed. The aurora arcs overhead in silent waves of emerald and violet, shimmering across the glacier like the pulse of the planet itself. Some step outside and stand beneath it, faces lifted toward the shifting light. They say nothing. There are no words for what they have touched. What language can describe the feeling of reaching through time and finding life waiting in the dark? But beneath the triumph lingers something else, unease. The ice, once silent, begins to crack more often. Distant rumbles echo through the frozen ground, as though something vast is stirring below. Instruments record shifts, subtle but increasing. Changes in pressure, unexpected warmth. The discovery that began as wonder now carries the weight of uncertainty. The Earth is changing. The glaciers retreat inch by inch, revealing what they have kept hidden for eons. Every sample collected, every hole drilled, is both progress and omen. The more we uncover, the more we realize how little we truly understand. Still, curiosity drives them onward. Humanity's nature is not to turn away from the unknown, but to follow it, no matter the cost. As the chapter closes, the camp stands silent under the pale glow of the returning sun. The scientists rest, exhausted, while beneath them, a vast and ancient ocean sleeps. Its surface ripples faintly against the cavern walls, untouched by light, harboring secrets older than continents. And somewhere in that darkness, in the hidden world beneath the white silence, life stirs, unaware that its existence has already changed ours. The camera would linger here on the endless expanse of ice, the faint hum of the wind, the shimmer of light returning after the longest night. The narration fades to a whisper. The ice remembers. It keeps what we have forgotten. And beneath it, the story of life begins again. As the frame darkens, the sound of distant water echoes from below, a quiet promise of what lies ahead. For the journey has only begun. Beyond this frozen threshold waits a realm untouched by time, where the boundaries between Earth and the cosmos blur, and the search for life becomes something more than science. It becomes a reflection of ourselves. Beneath the frozen crust of the world lies a realm that few can imagine and none can see. It is a place of liquid darkness, of crushing pressure and eternal silence, a sea entombed beneath miles of ancient ice. To descend here is to cross into another kind of existence, one untouched by light, one that has persisted in secrecy since before the first forest grew or the first creature crawled from the ocean above. The subglacial world is vast. Thousands of hidden lakes connected by rivers that flow through black tunnels carved in ice, their currents gliding silently through the Earth's cold heart. Together, they form an inverted ocean, a mirror to the surface seas, where water moves not under the open sky but under a ceiling of frozen time. No sunlight has ever touched these waters. No storm has ever stirred their surface. And yet they move, slowly, invisibly, with a persistence that defies imagination. Lake Vostok, Lake Willans, Lake Mercer, Lake Concordia, names that sound like myths whispered through snow. Each of them isolated for millions of years, sealed in darkness since before humankind even existed. The water there is not dead. It is alive with chemistry, rich with minerals, gases, and nutrients released from stone under unimaginable pressure. These are not oceans in the human sense, but ancient laboratories of evolution, places where life might have found ways to thrive without sun or sky. The journey to reach them is one of the most difficult endeavors ever attempted on Earth. Imagine drilling through nearly 4 kilometers of ice, in temperatures so cold that steel fractures, where even fuel freezes solid, and where every vibration, every trace of contamination, could erase the purity of what lies below. It takes years of planning, teams of engineers, microbiologists, and geophysicists working in concert, and the courage of explorers who accept that the nearest rescue is thousands of miles away. Every piece of equipment must be sterilized to perfection, because a single surface microbe could corrupt an entire ecosystem that has existed in isolation since the age of dinosaurs. When the drills finally pierce the last layer of ice, the moment is unlike any other in science. The pressure difference releases a rush of water from below, black, oxygen-starved, ancient. It hisses upward, steaming in the polar air before freezing instantly into crystalline sculptures that hang around the borehole like fragile glass. The scientists know that they are witnessing something sacred, the first breath of an ancient ocean. Beneath their feet lies a liquid world untouched since before humanity was born. To peer into it is to peer backward through time. Inside that hidden ocean, the laws of life bend in ways that challenge everything we thought we knew. Microbes are found that do not depend on sunlight or photosynthesis, but on chemistry itself, feeding on hydrogen, sulfur, iron, and rock. They survive by extracting energy from the Earth's crust, thriving on the faint glimmers of geothermal warmth. Their metabolism is slow, patient, eternal. Some divide only once every 100 years. Yet they persist, proof that life, once ignited, refuses to be extinguished. For scientists, these discoveries are more than curiosity. They are revelations that reach beyond Earth. If life can endure in the lightless depths beneath Antarctica, then similar life could exist on the icy moons of the outer solar system. The parallels are uncanny. Europa's ocean sealed beneath kilometers of ice. Enceladus, venting plumes of water into the void. Titan, with rivers of methane gliding beneath its frozen haze. In Antarctica's subglacial world, we find the closest reflection of those alien seas. The experiments, the drilling, the study of extremophiles, all of it is a rehearsal for what one day may be done on other worlds. Each sample taken here carries within it a fragment of cosmic possibility. But the deeper we probe, the more humbling the story becomes. For in the heart of this ice, the boundary between life and non-life blurs. Some of the microscopic forms found here are so unlike anything else that scientists struggle to categorize them. They move sluggishly, metabolize differently, resist classification. They seem almost transitional, as though we are glimpsing an ancient version of biology itself, something that existed long before complex organisms appeared. It is a haunting thought that buried beneath our feet, in the most hostile place on Earth, lies a living fossil, a blueprint for what life once was and what it might still be elsewhere. Yet for all the wonder, there is unease in this discovery. The ice is not eternal. With every passing year, it melts a little more, releasing not just ancient water, but ancient microbes into the modern world. Some of them benign, others unknown. The melting glaciers are a library thawing too fast, and we have only begun to understand what we're losing and what we might unleash. Every drill core, every sample taken, feels like opening a sealed book whose pages are written in a language older than time. Some scientists speak of caution, others of curiosity, but beneath it all lingers a single question. Are we ready to confront what the Earth still hides? Outside the laboratory tents, the ice stretches to infinity, silent, gleaming, indifferent. The auroras ripple across the sky as if mirroring the unseen waves below. The team works in the cold, their breath rising in clouds that drift upward and vanish into the white void. They are small figures against a continent that does not care whether they succeed or fail. Yet in that indifference lies beauty, the kind of beauty that demands respect. For all our knowledge, for all our technology, we remain visitors in a world that existed long before us and will remain long after we're gone. In the quiet hours, when machinery falls silent and the wind slows to a whisper, the thought returns again and again. What if this hidden ocean is not just a remnant of Earth's past, but a reflection of its beginning? What if this is where the first spark of life once flickered, in the darkness, beneath pressure, amid the slow pulse of liquid water? The scientists, though rational, cannot help but feel awe. Some look into the black samples under their microscopes and imagine not merely microbes, but ancestors, distant echoes of a story that began in the depths and continues now in their gloved hands. Beneath the ice, time moves differently. The lakes flow in cycles that last millennia, exchanging water through crevices and subglacial rivers, shaping landscapes that no eye will ever see. To map them is to chart a ghost ocean, a liquid shadow of the world above. And somewhere in that network of hidden currents, perhaps, are the clues to everything we have ever sought to know about life. Where it comes from, how it endures, and whether somewhere out there it waits for us to find it again. The camera pans slowly over the endless white expanse, the narrator's voice fading to a whisper. In the depths where a light cannot reach, life still burns. Not in fire, but in patience. Not in color, but in persistence. Beneath the ice, the planet remembers what it means to be alive. The deeper they descend, the more the world above ceases to exist. The light fades into a faint memory, replaced by the hum of machinery and the deep, rhythmic groan of the ice, as if the Earth itself were breathing. Each meter downward feels like a step backward in time, through epochs buried in frozen layers, each one a silent record of volcanic fire, atmospheric change, extinction, and rebirth. The walls of ice glow faintly blue in the lamp's narrow beam, their surfaces carved by centuries of compression. Tiny bubbles shimmer within, each one holding air from a world that no longer exists, air once breathed by creatures long gone, preserved like trapped ghosts in glass. The descent is not simply physical, it's existential. The scientists and engineers who make this journey are not explorers in the heroic sense, but pilgrims in pursuit of understanding. Down here, words like conquest lose their meaning. There is no flag to plant, no treasure to claim, only a truth waiting to be uncovered. The drill's vibrations echo upward through the shaft, reverberating across the frozen miles, and then silence. A deep, absorbing silence that fills the space like an ocean itself. The last layer of ice gives way. A sudden hiss of pressure equalizing, a pulse of water rising, ancient and cold. They've reached the abyss. A subglacial lake opens before them, a dark mirror reflecting nothing but eternity. The camera they lower is built for extremes. Titanium casing, thermal insulation, sterilized to perfection. It sinks slowly into the blackness, its lights cutting through the void like a descending star. For long minutes, there is nothing, only drifting silt and the soft pulse of suspended particles, illuminated like dust in a forgotten cathedral. Then something moves, a shimmer, a cloud of tiny filaments twisting in the beam. Not fish, not plants, something simpler, yet alive. Microbial colonies suspended in the water, forming delicate webs that glow faintly in response to the light. The watchers above hold their breath. For the first time in millions of years, this hidden life is being seen. It is humbling, this realization that existence does not require sunlight, that life can bloom in eternal night. In these conditions, where temperature and pressure would kill most organisms in seconds, these microscopic architects have adapted perfectly. They feed on chemistry itself, converting the minerals of the Earth's crust into energy. They are the alchemists of survival, thriving on what would seem, to us, like nothing. Their world is one of patience, where change takes centuries and endurance is the only measure of strength. As the camera moves further, it reveals strange formations on the lakebed, mineral towers shaped by heat rising from the crust below. These hydrothermal vents, though small, are alive with activity. Warm plumes rise gently from their mouths, creating microcurrents that stir the cold water. Around them, colonies of bacteria form colorful mats, red, orange, green. Pigments evolve to capture faint chemical energy. Each hue is a code, a biological signature written in the language of survival. To the scientists, it feels almost alien, as though they found an ecosystem from another planet. And perhaps they have. In that moment, the connection becomes undeniable. The worlds of Europa and Enceladus tighten, all distant reflections of this hidden Antarctic sea. The same darkness, the same chemistry, the same resilience. The narrator's voice softens as if whispering across galaxies. If life can find a way here, it can find a way anywhere. The samples retrieved are handled like sacred relics. Each vial is sealed, labeled, and stored in sterile containers that will travel thousands of miles to the world's most advanced laboratories. There, under microscopes capable of magnifying atoms, the researchers search for patterns, DNA strands, chemical signatures, traces of metabolism. What they find challenges the boundaries of known biology. Some of the microbes share similarities with known species, distant cousins of bacteria found in volcanic vents or deep-sea trenches. Others are entirely unique, organisms with genetic codes unlike anything cataloged before. Their presence rewrites evolutionary history, suggesting that life may have multiple origins, that it may emerge wherever conditions permit, independent and self-sustaining. And yet, amid the triumph of discovery, a quiet unease lingers. Some scientists worry about contamination, not from above, but from below. These organisms have existed in perfect isolation for millions of years. Exposing them to the surface world could be catastrophic, not because they are dangerous, but because they are unprepared. Like ancient relics unearthed too soon, they might not survive exposure to modern oxygen levels, radiation, or even touch. The debate grows heated. How far should humanity go in its pursuit of knowledge? Is understanding worth the risk of disturbing something that has remained pure for eons? Outside the tent, the wind howls like a warning. The ice groans again, deep, resonant, ancient. The aurora burns overhead, a green and violet storm that spills across the black sky like ink. It's easy to forget, standing there, that the continent beneath their boots is alive in its own way. Beneath every frozen ridge and hollow plain, water moves, breathes, circulates, as if the ice itself is the planet's skin and these subglacial lakes are its hidden veins. In the sleepless hours of the polar night, one of the researchers writes in his journal, "We came to find life, but what we found is a reflection of ourselves, persistence in the face of darkness, adaptation against all odds, and a quiet reminder that life's purpose is not to conquer, but to endure. Those words linger as the generators hum and the snow begins to fall again, thick and soundless. The borehole freezes over, sealing the passage once more. The hidden sea returns to its long slumber, untouched again by the world above. It will remain that way until the next expedition dares to awaken it. Perhaps in a decade, perhaps never. But the data, the samples, and the images will continue to echo through scientific circles for generations to come. And as the camera fades out, the narrator's voice carries softly through the darkness. Beneath the ice, we do not simply find water, we find memory. Memory of a world that never stopped dreaming, even in the coldest dark. These are the oceans that remind us. The unknown is not empty. It is waiting. The expedition had begun with a single lake. One point on the map, one circle drilled through the surface. But what they discovered beneath that lake was not an isolated pocket of water. It was a passage, a living network, pulsing and shifting beneath the continent like veins beneath skin. The sensors picked it up first. Faint echoes, tremors, changes in conductivity that no one expected. The data, when processed, revealed something astonishing. Channels connecting lake to lake, vast tunnels of liquid water flowing through the ice, linking the buried seas in a continuous system that spanned hundreds of kilometers. It was not one lake. It was an ocean, fragmented, intricate, alive. The revelation changed everything. The subglacial world was not static, as once believed. It moved, breathed, circulated. Water from the high glaciers flowed downward through fissures, pressurized by its own weight, traveling through the dark to feed the lakes below. Some channels froze shut, others opened, carving new routes through the ice in slow, unseen motion. It was a hidden hydrology, a system that had endured for millennia, shaping the land beneath Antarctica in silence. The scientists called it a subglacial circulatory system, but others began to call it something more poetic, the beating heart of the frozen world. To map it, they deployed radar drones, autonomous probes fitted with sonar and thermal sensors, released into the borehole to drift through the current. Each signal they sent back was a thread of information, weaving together an image of a world that had never been seen. The readings were complex, shifting currents, temperature gradients, and pulses of warmth that shouldn't exist. Somewhere deep below, geothermal heat was rising, feeding the hidden rivers with energy from the Earth's core. That warmth, though faint, was enough to keep the water in constant motion, enough to sustain the chemistry of life. Days passed as the team analyzed every trace, every fluctuation. Then came the anomaly. One of the drones, codenamed Erebus 3, sent back a pattern, rhythmic, repeating, almost like a signal. It wasn't mechanical noise, and it wasn't geological. It pulsed with a strange consistency, echoing at regular intervals, as though the ice itself were resonating. The team dismissed it at first, labeling it sensor interference. But as more probes detected it, doubt began to creep in. The pulses weren't random. They were spatially consistent, emanating from deep within one of the unmapped chambers of the network. Something down there was moving. No one wanted to use the word alive. Not yet, but curiosity is a force stronger than fear. Plans were drawn for a second descent, this time with a remote submersible designed to travel through the tunnels and capture direct footage. It took weeks to prepare, sterilizing every component, recalibrating instruments, rehearsing emergency procedures. When the day came, the winds were brutal, howling across the station like an omen. Still, they launched. The cable unspooled meter by meter, carrying the small vessel into the deep. Cameras activated. A narrow beam of light pierced the black. At first, the journey was familiar. Walls of ice sculpted into surreal patterns, currents carrying flecks of sediment that glimmered like falling stars. But then the passage widened into a cavern so vast it defied comprehension. The light from the submersible stretched into nothingness, swallowed by the void. The temperature readings rose slightly, an indication of geothermal flux. Along the cavern walls, strange filamentous structures hung like frost, glistening under the camera's glow. At first glance, they appeared mineral, crystalline, lifeless. But as the light lingered, they began to move, curling subtly, responding to the illumination. The observers in the control tent fell silent. The filaments contracted, then expanded again, releasing small bursts of gas into the water. The sensors detected fluctuations in oxygen levels, microbursts rhythmic and measurable. The realization came slowly, almost reluctantly. These were not mineral formations. They were biological. Some kind of colonial organism, woven through the ice, living symbiotically with it. A collective life form thriving where none should. Each tendril a part of a larger whole, communicating through chemical pulses. An ancient intelligence shaped not by thought, but by survival. The data confirmed it. A living structure embedded within the subglacial matrix itself. A network within a network. The idea was staggering, that life could not only endure beneath the ice, but become one with it. Perhaps it wasn't life in the sense humanity knew, with cells and organs and purpose, but something older, a microbial consciousness spread across miles, thinking in the slow rhythm of geological time. The scientists struggled to describe it, their vocabulary collapsing under the weight of the discovery. Some called it the ice colony. Others preferred a more haunting name, the sleeper. Hours turned to days as the team monitored the readings, unsure what to make of what they'd found. There was no aggression, no threat, only motion, slow and steady. But there was also no randomness. The filaments pulsed in response to external stimuli: sound, light, vibration. It was as if the ice itself was listening. The notion unsettled everyone. They had set out to study an ocean. Instead, they had awakened something vast and aware. Outside, the weather turned violent. A blizzard swept across the plateau, blinding and relentless. Inside the research tent, the generator flickered. Instruments whined under the static. Amid the chaos, Erebus 3's signal began to distort. Then, for a single, unexplainable moment, every sensor spiked simultaneously. Temperature, pressure, vibration. The monitors glowed red. And then silence. The connection was lost. When the storm passed, the borehole had frozen over again, sealing the passage as if the Earth itself had chosen to close the door. The team stood in silence, staring at the blank expanse. There was no panic, no outburst, only the quiet understanding that they had touched something beyond comprehension, something that did not wish to be disturbed. In the days that followed, they reviewed the last frames of data before the blackout. The final image showed the submersible drifting through the dark, its lights fading, and in the distance, barely visible, a vast lattice structure, curving upward like the ribs of a colossal creature. Whether it was ice, mineral, or something alive, no one could say. The footage ended abruptly, swallowed by static. And as the narrator's voice fades, the wind begins to rise again, whispering across the endless white desert. There are oceans beneath our feet, older than the stars we see above. And in their silence, something stirs, not hostile, not kind, but aware. The deeper we go, the more we understand. Some mysteries do not want to be found. For days, the station remained wrapped in an uneasy silence. The storm outside had passed, but something in the air had changed, a quiet heaviness, as if the ice itself remembered. The team worked methodically, cataloging data, reviewing video fragments, replaying the last signals from Erebus 3 again and again. Each replay brought no new answers, only more questions. What was that final image? Was it geological structure, or something older, something alive? And if alive, for how long had it been there, waiting, undisturbed beneath the cold crust of time? Night fell, though here night and day were meaningless. The sky was a shifting veil of green light, the auroras flowing like living rivers. Below, the ice stretched for thousands of kilometers in every direction, a frozen cosmos mirroring the stars above. Somewhere beneath it all lay the chamber where Erebus 3 had vanished, where the signal pulsed and then fell silent. The researchers couldn't shake the feeling that they had brushed against something ancient, something the Earth itself had chosen to conceal. Still, curiosity persisted. It is a human flaw and a human triumph, that hunger to know. They decided on one final mission, a short one, to lower an acoustic probe designed to listen rather than see. It would drift into the sealed borehole, transmitting vibrations from below. The logic was simple. Light had failed, so perhaps sound could succeed. The probe descended quietly, its cable humming in the wind. For hours, nothing. Just the deep, steady creak of ice shifting under its own weight. Then came a rhythm, faint, irregular, yet distinctly patent. The sound was not geological. It was not wind or water or movement of ice. It was tonal, deliberate. A low frequency, pulsing through the crust like a heartbeat. The scientists stared at the monitor as if it might begin to speak. The longer they listened, the clearer it became. This was not random noise. It had structure, repeating intervals, harmonic layers, echoes that built and decayed like the breath of something vast. One of them whispered, "It's communicating," but no one dared to answer. In that moment, the distinction between discovery and intrusion collapsed. They had come to study, to observe, not to awaken. And yet, by reaching this far, by breaching the barrier of time and ice, perhaps they had stirred a slumber that predated humanity itself. The sound continued for several hours, steady, rhythmic, until finally it faded, as though the source had withdrawn. Then, silence. The probe remained intact, its sensors cold. The ice above it, however, began to shift. Slowly, imperceptibly at first, then with a deep, resonant groan that shook the ground. Cracks spidered across the surface, thin lines stretching outward for miles before freezing again. The ice had spoken and then sealed itself shut. No one could explain it. The data defied interpretation. Some believed it to be thermal stress, others a seismic reaction. But the recordings told another story. The pulses had matched the natural frequency of the ice sheet itself, as though something below had resonated with the continent, a harmony between living and non-living matter. It was as if the Earth had momentarily remembered its own voice. In the aftermath, the team grew quieter, more introspective. They stopped speaking in scientific terms. Words like organism, ecosystem, sample began to feel inadequate. What they had touched was not just life. It was something more fundamental, something that blurred the boundary between biology and geology, between being and environment. The ice, the water, the microbes, the chemical pulses, all of it was connected, unified, alive in ways they could not quantify. One night, the lead scientist, a woman who had dedicated her life to studying extremophiles, wrote a single line in her journal. "Perhaps we are not discovering life beneath the ice. Perhaps we are remembering it." Her words captured what none of the data could, the sense that this place was not alien to us, but ancestral. That long before humanity walked the surface, before forests, before rain, before the first breath of oxygen, the world was water and stone and pressure. And within that dark communion, life began. What they found beneath the ice was not new. It was the oldest thing we know, the memory of creation itself. In the following days, they packed the equipment, sealed the samples, and prepared for departure. The ice winds rose again, sweeping across the empty horizon, erasing their footprints as if they had never been there. The station fell silent, its metal walls gleaming beneath the aurora's slow dance. When the transport finally lifted off, the continent stretched below them, infinite, pale, unknowable. To the untrained eye, it was barren. To them, it was alive. As the aircraft climbed, the camera pans wide across the Antarctic plateau. The voice of the narrator carries over the hum of engines. We imagine life as something fragile, something rare. But perhaps it is the opposite. Perhaps life is the most persistent force in the universe, rising not in comfort, but in resistance. Beneath the ice, in darkness older than the sky, life waits. It does not ask to be found. It simply endures. The scene fades to black, but the sound lingers, that low, resonant pulse captured by the final probe, looping softly beneath the music. It is neither threatening nor peaceful, just eternal, a heartbeat echoing through the bones of the planet. It reminds the viewer that beneath every frozen horizon lies motion, beneath every silence lies sound, and beneath every death, persistence. In the end, the subglacial ocean becomes more than a place. It becomes a mirror, one that reflects not alien life, but the origin of our own. Humanity peers downward into that black water and sees itself reflected, small and transient against the patience of the earth. The narrator's tone softens, almost a whisper now. We came seeking answers about other worlds. But in the darkness beneath our own, we found something greater, proof that life is not the exception, but the rule. That even in the coldest silence, the universe still hums with the memory of creation. The final shot lingers on the frozen expanse, endless white, shimmering beneath the aurora. The camera tilts upward toward the night sky, where Jupiter glows faintly above the horizon, its icy moon Europa reflecting the same green light that dances across Antarctica. The image dissolves slowly into black, and for a moment, the audience is left suspended, between worlds, between time, between breaths, listening to that single ancient rhythm, the sound of the ice, the sound of the earth, the sound of life itself. Space is silent, but it is not still. Beyond the reach of sunlight, past the glittering belt of asteroids, drift the moons that shimmer like shards of distant glass. Europa and Enceladus, Ganymede, Callisto. From afar, they appear lifeless, mere fragments of rock and ice circling their giant planets in eternal frost. Yet beneath their frozen shells, scientists now suspect there may be oceans, vast, warm, living seas hidden in darkness. They are the mirrors of Earth's subglacial lakes, the cosmic reflections of what stirs beneath Antarctica. And as our instruments gaze across the void, what we find there begins to blur the line between what is alien and what is home. Europa moves in perfect silence around Jupiter, locked in an endless dance with the planet's gravity. Its surface is a world of scars, cracks, fractures, fissures that spread like veins of light across a white, frozen plain. The ice shifts and groans as tidal forces flex it, creating friction deep below. That friction generates heat, and that heat, in turn, keeps an ocean liquid, an ocean that may be deeper than all the seas on Earth combined. Imagine it, a world where sunlight never shines, where water stretches for 100 kilometers beneath an unbroken crust of ice, warmed only by the pull of a distant giant. No human eye has seen that ocean. No probe has yet pierced its crust. And yet we know it's there, revealed by gravity, by magnetism, by the faint shimmer of water vapor plumes erupting into space. In those plumes are hints of salt, organic molecules, even the chemical fingerprints of possible energy sources. It is enough to suggest that Europa may not be silent at all, that beneath its ice, something stirs, something that remembers the same story we uncovered beneath Antarctica. When scientists first compared the data, the parallels were uncanny. Both Europa and Antarctica are worlds of ice over liquid. Both conceal warm, mineral-rich waters. Both are isolated, dark, and ancient. In the laboratories of Earth, samples from Lake Vostok showed how life could thrive in total darkness, drawing energy not from the sun, but from the planet's own chemistry. That revelation transformed how we see the cosmos. It told us that life does not need warmth or light, only balance, time, and persistence. Suddenly, the frozen moons were no longer barren. They were possible. They were echoes. Imagine standing on Europa's surface, a Skiles' world bathed in Jupiter's reflected glow. The ice beneath your boots is fractal, intricate, translucent in places where the subsurface ocean's light refracts faintly upward. The silence is absolute, broken only by the groaning of the crust as it flexes. Beneath you lies an ocean that may have existed for billions of years. The pressure there would crush steel, but in that blackness, perhaps something moves, slowly, patiently, as life once did on our own planet before it ever saw the sun. Perhaps colonies of microbes cluster around hydrothermal vents that glow softly in the abyss, feeding on chemical gradients as their cousins do beneath Antarctica's frozen heart. And if there are microbes, there could be more. In the Earth's oceans, simple beginnings have always led to complexity. Life organizes, adapts, diversifies. Could the same be true beneath Europa's crust? Could there be organisms larger than a cell? Creatures that drift in the eternal dark, guided by the pull of magnetic currents? We do not know. But every discovery on Earth makes that question harder to dismiss. Enceladus, smaller but no less mysterious, offers its own song of evidence. Around Saturn it spins, a tiny moon no larger than the British Isles. Yet its south pole erupts in fountains of ice and vapor, geysers that shoot hundreds of kilometers into space. Within those plumes, captured by the Cassini spacecraft, scientists found the chemical fingerprints of hydrogen, carbon dioxide, methane, the exact ingredients that sustain life around hydrothermal vents on Earth. It was as if the moon were exhaling the breath of an unseen ocean, a cosmic message sent across the void. We are not alone in this chemistry. The narrator's voice lowers to a murmur, carrying the tone of revelation. Everywhere we look, the same story repeats. Ice above, water below, warmth from within. Planets breathe through their moons. Moons whisper through their oceans. And within that whisper may lie the oldest language in the universe, life itself. In these moments, science feels less like observation and more like remembrance. The deeper we explore the cosmos, the more we recognize ourselves within it. The frozen lakes of Antarctica were not anomalies. They were messages, blueprints written in the deep code of creation. They showed us how life endures in darkness, how it adapts to pressure and silence. And now, as we gaze toward Europa and Enceladus, we see not the promise of something new, but the continuation of something ancient. Humanity prepares to return the question with action. The Europa Clipper mission, set to launch soon, will orbit the moon dozens of times, scanning its crust, tasting the vapor of its plumes, seeking the hidden salt of its sea. On Saturn's moon, proposals gather for Enceladus Orbelander, a probe that will fly through the geysers and perhaps one day descend to the surface. Each mission is an extension of the same longing, to touch the unknown and to listen for a heartbeat beneath the ice. But even before we go, we already know something profound. The conditions that create life are not rare. They are written into the physics of worlds. Where there is heat and water, where there is pressure and time, there is the potential for biology. The universe, it seems, is biased toward life. It leans toward it. It cultivates it in secret oceans, hidden beneath frost and silence. And so, when we speak of Europa or Enceladus, we are not speaking of distant moons. We are speaking of mirrors, celestial reflections that show us who we are and where we came from. The search for life beyond Earth is not an act of curiosity alone. It is an act of recognition. We are looking for ourselves, for that first spark that leapt from chemistry to consciousness, the same spark that may still flicker in the dark, waiting to be found again. The scene fades with the camera pulling slowly away from Jupiter's pale moon, the planet's vast storm band swirling below. The music softens to a distant glacial hum. The narrator's final words drift like an echo through space. Perhaps the universe does not need to invent life anew on every world. Perhaps it remembers. In the stillness between the stars, it carries the memory of what has already been, waiting for ice and water and time to awaken it once more. The spacecraft drifts silently through the black. No wind, no sound, only the cold hum of machinery and the endless void beyond. Europa, with its fractured crust, spins beneath the orbiting probe, a globe of white cracked like porcelain. The ice moves slowly, deliberately, sculpted by tidal forces that stretch and flex it with the rhythm of Jupiter's immense gravity. Every fissure tells a story, a record of stress and release, of heat moving upward from a hidden ocean below. As the instruments scan, a question hangs in the minds of the team on Earth. What waits beneath that unbroken ice, where no human has yet glimpsed, where sunlight has never touched? Scientists compare the data to Antarctica's hidden lakes. The similarities are profound. Both are covered by ice kilometers thick. Both harbor liquid water warmed by the heat from below, and both contain the chemical ingredients necessary for life. It is a reminder that Earth's extremes are not anomalies, but patterns, microcosms of a larger cosmic truth. If life can survive in the subglacial lakes, enduring pressure, cold, and darkness, then Europa's ocean may be more than speculation. It may be a living, breathing ecosystem, pulsing silently beneath the crust. The probe's instruments detect plumes erupting from the moon's surface, geysers of water vapor, shooting into space from fractures near the South Pole. They rise hundreds of kilometers, carrying salts and organic molecules, chemical whispers of an ocean beneath. Each eruption is a fleeting window into the hidden sea, a chance to sample its composition without ever drilling through the ice. Scientists on Earth hold their breath as the probe passes through these plumes, capturing spectra, recording particles, analyzing the invisible signatures of life. Each readout sparks both excitement and trepidation. Could something survive in this alien ocean? Could we, in essence, be glimpsing life as it might exist beyond our world? Meanwhile, on Enceladus, the story unfolds in parallel. The moon is smaller, yet its geysers are spectacular. Icy jets that betray the warm ocean hidden beneath. Cassini's previous flybys hinted at hydrogen, organic molecules, and the chemical potential for life. Every plume analyzed, every particle measured, strengthens the idea that the conditions for life are not unique to Earth. And yet, as the spacecraft passes through, scientists feel the familiar tension of anticipation and humility. We've explored the depths of our own frozen planet, but now we are facing the vast unknown. Worlds where even the simplest life would be alien, adapted to pressures, chemistry, and darkness beyond human experience. The emotional weight is immense. For decades, humans have looked to the stars and asked whether we are alone. And now, after studying the hidden oceans beneath Antarctica, the answer seems less about possibility and more about inevitability. The resilience of life on Earth, microbes that thrive without sunlight, colonies that adapt to chemical energy, organisms that endure in sealed isolation for millions of years, suggests a universe that favors persistence over fragility. The cosmos, it appears, is patient, waiting for the right conditions, repeating the experiment that began in Earth's primordial oceans, now extended across frozen moons orbiting giant planets. The narrative turns inward as the scientists reflect on their own journey. There is a parallel between our exploration of Earth's extremes and the quest to understand extraterrestrial life. Every ice drill, every borehole, every sterile sample extracted from Lake Mercer or Lake Welland is practice, a rehearsal for reaching Europa or Enceladus. The challenges are staggering. Sterilization, preservation, sample integrity, contamination avoidance, extreme environments. But every small success in Antarctica reinforces the hope that humanity can reach and understand these distant oceans. And with each new mission planned, Europa Clipper, Enceladus Orbelander, The lines between Earth and space, between known and unknown, begin to blur. As the probe's instruments continue to scan Europa, subtle thermal anomalies emerge along its fractured crust. The readings suggest areas where heat is reaching the surface, spots where the ice is thinner, perhaps only a few kilometers deep. For the first time, scientists can imagine landing a future probe, drilling through these fragile regions to reach the ocean below. The thought is electrifying and terrifying in equal measure. This is not merely exploration. It is contact with a world untouched for billions of years, a world that may harbor life forms that have evolved in isolation, following a chemical and physical rhythm entirely separate from ours. Enceladus offers a mirror to this vision. Its geysers, erupting with perfect regularity, act as natural laboratories, free samples of an ocean beneath the ice, carried directly into space. Instruments can capture and analyze them without drilling, without intrusion. Each plethora is a dialogue with the unknown, a conversation conducted in chemistry and physics, a message that life may emerge wherever conditions allow. And yet, there is humility in every reading. The probes carry no guarantees. We can only observe, measure, and hope that what we detect is alive in some form, a distant cousin to the resilient life found beneath Antarctica. In the quiet of mission control, scientists and engineers reflect on the deeper significance. The story is not only about life beyond Earth, but about the endurance of life itself, its persistence against darkness, cold, and isolation. The universe, in its vastness, may be teeming quietly, patiently, just as Antarctica has taught us that life endures beneath our own feet. Every frozen lake, every geyser plume, every hidden ocean becomes part of a greater narrative, one that stretches from the primordial seas of Earth to the alien waters of distant moons. The final imagery of this segment is slow and expansive. Europa drifts across the blackness, its icy surface cracked and glowing faintly with reflected light. Enceladus erupts in quiet jets of ice, tiny against the backdrop of Saturn. The narrator's voice softens, carrying both awe and melancholy. We look to the heavens and see frozen moons, lifeless, or so we think. But beneath their ice, the same forces that birthed life on Earth may be at work. Persistence, patience, chemical alchemy, a rhythm older than stars. And as we reach across space, we may find that we are not searching for life after all, but witnessing its quiet determination, mirrored in the cosmos and remembered in our own oceans of ice. The music swells softly, a subtle echo of the heartbeat from Antarctica, bridging Earth and the moons, past and future, known and unknown. The frame fades slowly into black, leaving the viewer suspended between awe and contemplation, wonder and humility, Earth and the stars. Beneath Europa's frozen crust, the ocean may stretch in infinite darkness, a world entirely apart from the sunlit seas we know. Light never penetrates here. Pressure rises with every kilometer, crushing, shaping, defining the very possibilities of life. And yet, physics and chemistry suggest it is not empty. Hydrothermal vents at the ocean floor may spew warmth and minerals, creating pockets of energy and complexity, microcosms of activity far below the icy ceiling. If life exists here, it would be slow, deliberate, patient beyond our comprehension. Microbes could cling to rock formations, forming colonies around chemical gradients, moving at rhythms of centuries, not hours. It would be a life tuned to endurance, adapted to isolation, resilient in a way that mirrors the organisms beneath Antarctica. The possibilities grow with imagination. Could there be larger forms, organisms that drift like the jellyfish of Earth's oceans, their translucent bodies pulsing with chemical luminescence? Could they communicate through vibrations, through chemical signals, building communities over vast distances, hidden from any human eye? Perhaps entire ecosystems exist in microcurrents, unseen but dynamic, sustained by the steady flow of energy from the planet's own heart. In that stillness, life would not rush. it would persist. Every organism, every pulse, every metabolic reaction would be a testament to adaptation and patience. Life as pure endurance. Life as eternal whisper. Enceladus offers another vision of alien persistence. Its geysers erupt in perfect, repeated arcs, a cosmic heartbeat of water, ice, and energy. Each plume is a message from the hidden ocean below, carrying dissolved gases, organic molecules, and perhaps even microorganisms that have adapted to the moon's unique chemistry. Life here, if it exists, would be intimate with its environment, inseparable from the geochemistry that sustains it. It would not evolve toward size, speed, or aggression. It would evolve toward balance, efficiency, survival, a subtle intelligence, a quiet mastery of adaptation. In this sense, life is not exotic. It is inevitable wherever conditions allow. These reflections carry profound philosophical weight. Humanity has long defined life through light, warmth, and surface ecosystems. Trees, animals, rivers, seas, forms that dominate and are visible. But the hidden oceans of Earth and the moons challenge this assumption. Life does not demand grandeur or visibility. It thrives in pressure, in darkness, in isolation. Our concept of existence is incomplete without acknowledging these hidden possibilities. What we call extremophiles, what we dismiss as microscopic oddities beneath Antarctic ice, may in fact reflect the norm for life across the cosmos. The extraordinary may be ordinary. The invisible may be the vast majority. And so, we confront questions both scientific and existential. What does it mean if life exists beneath Europa's ice? What if Enceladus harbors ecosystems thriving on chemical currents? Would we recognize it as life, or would it challenge the very definitions we cling to? Humanity's understanding of biology, evolution, and consciousness is bound by surface experience, by the light-filled world of Earth. These oceans ask us to expand our imagination, to accept that life is not merely visible, but relational, patient, chemical, and temporal, beyond measure. In the quiet of mission control, scientists watch as Europa drifts beneath the probe. The instruments report thermal anomalies, magnetic fluctuations, hints of chemical gradients. The data is abstract, yet it resonates with the discoveries from Antarctica, proof that water, pressure, and chemistry can sustain life even in darkness. Each readout is a thread connecting Earth to these distant worlds, a narrative of persistence stretching from our frozen lakes to alien oceans. The same principles of survival, the same stubbornness of life, may be mirrored across the solar system. Emotion weaves through the science. To imagine life in these hidden oceans is to confront humility. We are explorers of the known and unknown, yet we are not masters of the universe. We are witnesses. Every measurement, every observation, every plume sampled is an attempt to understand a rhythm older and more resilient than humanity itself. The cosmic oceans are a mirror, showing us what life values: endurance, adaptation, and subtlety. They remind us that existence is not about dominance or visibility, but about balance, a whisper beneath ice, a pulse beneath rock, a persistence across time. As the narrative reaches its emotional apex, the camera pans over the icy moons. Europa glows faintly under Jupiter's light, fractures tracing silent pathways for currents below. Enceladus spews its plumes, white against the darkness, small yet infinitely profound. Together, they are a testament to the hidden potential of life, a cosmic reflection of the subglacial oceans we uncovered on Earth. Each world is a lesson. Life is patient, resilient, and waiting wherever it can persist. The narrator's voice softens, carrying both awe and reflection. We have looked to the stars and seen frozen moons, barren and silent. But beneath their ice, life may endure as it does beneath our own frozen lakes. Slow, deliberate, patient, eternal. The universe is not empty. It is humming with persistence, with the quiet force of survival that began long before humanity and will continue long after. And in these hidden oceans we may find not strangers, but echoes of ourselves, reminders that life, once sparked, never truly sleeps. The music swells, carrying the resonance of Earth's heartbeat beneath Antarctica, mirrored faintly in Europa's and Enceladus's hidden waters. The frame dissolves slowly from the icy moons to the frozen lakes on Earth, connecting the two worlds in a single, seamless visual narrative. The audience is left suspended between awe and contemplation, between discovery and the profound realization that the cosmos is not silent but patiently alive, remembering what it means to endure. The universe holds its secrets in silence. Europa drifts in the inky black, fractured ice shimmering faintly under Jupiter's reflected glow. Enceladus, smaller, erupts its plumes quietly into the void, tiny geysers against the cosmic expanse. These moons, distant and cold, are more than frozen rocks. They are archives of possibility, worlds that whisper of life, waiting for eyes and instruments capable of understanding. And as humanity peers toward them, we are not only searching for the unknown, we are confronting ourselves, our persistence, our curiosity, and the deep-rooted need to know whether life is unique or universal. The discoveries beneath Antarctica echo across these moons. Subglacial lakes, sealed beneath kilometers of ice, revealed microbial life thriving in darkness, chemical energy sustaining colonies in complete isolation. It was a revelation. Life does not need sunlight. It does not need warmth in the way we imagine. Life can persist, patient and deliberate, shaped by pressure and chemistry, resilient beyond human measure. And now, Europa and Enceladus offer an echo of the same story. Oceans beneath ice, warmed by internal forces, rich in minerals and chemical energy, possibly harboring life adapted to environments we have yet to fully comprehend. The philosophical implications are profound. Humanity has always measured life by visibility, by the dramatic and the grand. But these hidden oceans suggest a different paradigm, that life exists in subtlety, in patience, in endurance. To encounter it, whether in a sample from Lake Mercer or in a plume from Enceladus, is to confront a quiet truth. Life is less about dominance and more about persistence. The universe, it seems, favors survival, and survival does not require recognition. It requires time, stability, and opportunity. In mission control, the team watches as the data streams in. Particle analyses from the plumes suggest complex molecules. Chemical gradients hint at energy sources. Thermal anomalies reveal the hidden warmth beneath the ice. Each piece of information is a thread connecting distant moons to our frozen world. A narrative stretching from the subglacial lakes of Earth to the alien oceans of Jupiter and Saturn. In this story, humanity is not the protagonist, but the witness, the listener, the interpreter. And that role carries both humility and wonder. The potential forms of life on these moons demand imagination tempered with science. Microbial colonies could cling to hydrothermal vents, metabolizing chemical energy from minerals and gases. Filamentous structures might weave through the darkness, communicating through chemical pulses. Perhaps larger forms, translucent and drifting like jellyfish, float in the deep currents, surviving without light, navigating by chemical gradients and pressure cues. These forms would not mirror terrestrial life, but they would reflect the same principles: adaptation, resilience, and the drive to endure. Yet, with discovery comes reflection. Humanity's reach is extending, probing the very essence of life beyond Earth. But do we understand our own role? Each mission risks contamination, intrusion, even unintended harm. Antarctica's lakes taught us caution, sterile procedures, respect for isolation, the knowledge that ancient systems must be approached without arrogance. The same lessons apply to Europa and Enceladus. To touch these oceans is to engage in an act of profound responsibility. We are stewards of knowledge, but also custodians of worlds we barely comprehend. And so the emotional weight deepens. We are explorers, yes, but we are also students of patience, learning from the resilience of life itself. Life beneath Antarctica, life beneath Europa, life beneath Enceladus. It is all a mirror, reflecting the persistence of existence, the quiet determination to endure against silence, darkness, and isolation. Humanity glimpses not just other worlds, but the underlying principle that life, once it begins, rarely stops. It persists, it adapts, it transforms, and it waits, patient, resilient, eternal. The camera pans slowly, drawing a connection across the solar system. Subglacial lakes glimmer faintly beneath Antarctic ice. Europa's fractured surface stretches across the void, and Enceladus erupts its icy plumes toward the distant sun. The frame unites these worlds in a single narrative, one of endurance, possibility, and wonder. The narrator's voice softens, carrying the weight of revelation and reflection. We have looked into frozen oceans, both beneath our feet and across the void. We have discovered that life is not fragile, but tenacious, not rare, but resilient. In darkness and pressure, in silence and isolation, life persists. And as we gaze at distant moons, we realize that our search for life is also a search for ourselves, for the understanding that we are part of a universe that remembers, that endures, and that quietly hums with existence even where we cannot see. The final imagery lingers. Europa rotates beneath the camera, a frozen sphere crisscrossed with fractures that hint at the liquid world below. Enceladus continues its eruptions, delicate yet determined, a subtle heartbeat in the vast silence. Antarctica stretches below a sky lit by auroras, its hidden lakes asleep beneath kilometers of ice. All three are connected, by water, by ice, by resilience, by the quiet persistence of life. The music swells gently, echoing the heartbeat of Earth and the distant rhythm of cosmic oceans, a bridge between worlds, time, and existence. In that moment, humanity stands as witness and participant. We cannot yet claim these moons, nor fully understand them. We cannot yet prove life exists there, but we can listen. We can measure. We can imagine. And in doing so, we honor both the persistence of life and the enduring mystery of the universe. The narrative fades slowly, leaving the audience suspended between awe and reflection, between Earth and the cosmos, between what we know and what waits patiently to be discovered. Life is not a rarity, the narrator concludes. It is the rule. And in the silence beneath ice, on distant moons, and within ourselves, it waits, enduring, patient, eternal. Humanity has always been drawn to the edge. The horizon, the summit, the ocean's farthest reaches. They call to us, not because the journey is safe, but because the unknown holds a mirror to our own curiosity. Antarctica, with its blinding ice and relentless cold, became one such frontier. Subglacial lakes, hidden beneath kilometers of frozen silence, offered no easy reward. No treasure, no conquest, only the promise of discovery, the faint possibility that life might exist where we never imagined. To reach it, scientists endured storms, isolation, and temperatures that pierced through every layer of clothing, every bit of human resolve. Every step, every drill, every careful extraction of a sterile sample became a testament to persistence. The drilling process itself is a study in precision and patience. A borehole must pierce through kilometers of ice without introducing contaminants, a challenge that combines engineering, chemistry, and imagination. The water below is ancient, isolated for millions of years, a fragile ecosystem suspended in time. Any misstep could destroy it, or worse, obscure the evidence of life entirely. Each attempt is a negotiation with the planet itself. The ice resists, shifts, and creaks, as if testing the resolve of those who dare disturb it. And yet, when the first water enters the collection chamber, when the instruments detect microbial life, The triumph is not in conquest, but in reverence. Scientists do not celebrate as conquerors. They bow, quietly, to the resilience of life. The emotions in these moments are subtle but profound. Scientists report feeling awe akin to standing before a cathedral or a starry night untouched by city lights. The organisms discovered are microscopic, yet their presence resonates with significance. Each microbe carries the story of survival across millennia, adapting to cold, darkness, and chemical isolation. They are small, but their endurance is monumental, a reminder that life is not measured by size or speed, but by its capacity to persist against the odds. In those hidden lakes, humans confront something both fragile and unstoppable, a paradox that humbles and inspires simultaneously. This experience transforms our understanding of life itself. Life beneath ice is not a novelty. It is a revelation. It expands the definition of what it means to exist, showing that ecosystems can thrive in darkness, using chemistry rather than sunlight, patience rather than competition, endurance rather than aggression. Each discovery rewrites the textbook, not in chapters of detail, but in broad strokes of understanding. Life is resilient, adaptable, patient, and extraordinarily inventive. The subglacial lakes of Antarctica, once thought barren, now hum with possibility. And then there is the leap from Earth to the cosmos. Europa and Enceladus, icy moons orbiting giant planets, echo the lessons learned beneath the Antarctic ice. Subsurface oceans, shielded from sunlight, heated by internal forces, and chemically rich, are prime candidates for life. Here, the narrative bridges science and wonder. Instruments like the Europa Clipper and proposed Enceladus Orbilander seek not only to map these worlds, but to listen, sample, and interpret their hidden oceans. Humanity is learning to approach the cosmos with both precision and humility, guided by lessons from our own frozen frontiers. The philosophical resonance is undeniable. Exploration is rarely about mastery. It is about understanding one's place within a larger system. The subglacial lakes taught us that life persists in conditions unimaginable, suggesting that the universe itself may be predisposed to sustain it. The icy moons suggest a continuation of that story, a cosmic reflection of our own planet's hidden ecosystems. And humanity, in reaching toward these distant oceans, is both student and witness, a participant in a story that predates us and will endure long after us. Emotion threads through each mission, shaping scientific work into something akin to art. Data is not just numbers. It becomes narrative, rhythm, and texture. Thermal readings, chemical analyses, microbial colonies. They transform into stories of endurance, adaptation, and survival. Every anomaly in the data is a mystery, a puzzle, a whisper of life waiting to be interpreted. The scientist's work is a blend of observation and imagination, rigor and poetry, calculation and reverence. In this space, science becomes cinematic, a narrative of connection between humans, Earth, and the cosmos. The broader significance is equally profound. Subglacial lakes, Europa and Enceladus teach patience, humility, and respect for complexity. They show that discovery is not a single moment of triumph, but a continuum, a conversation with time, environment, and life itself. Each sample, each measurement, each careful observation is part of a larger dialogue, with the planet, with the universe, and with the very notion of persistence. In listening to these hidden oceans, humanity begins to understand not only life elsewhere, but the resilience and fragility of life at home. The camera moves slowly across Antarctica, highlighting the glacial expanse, the subglacial lakes hidden beneath, and the auroras dancing across the polar sky. Then it transitions to Europa, icy fractures illuminated by Jupiter's glow, and Enceladus, erupting its gentle plumes into Saturn's shadow. The visual narrative connects Earth to these distant worlds, emphasizing continuity and resonance. The narrator's voice, calm yet evocative, draws the connection. From the hidden lakes beneath ice to the oceans beneath frozen moons, the universe teaches us patience, resilience, and humility. Life is not fragile, it is persistent. And as we seek it, in Antarctica or among the stars, we come to understand our own place, not as masters, but as observers of a vast and enduring story. The music swells softly, carrying echoes of ice groaning, water flowing, and the faint pulse of distant geysers. The audience is left with the impression that exploration is not merely a scientific endeavor, but a spiritual one, a way to engage with the persistence of life itself, to witness the rhythm of survival, and to reflect on humanity's connection to the hidden and the unknown. The edge of the unknown is never quiet. In Antarctica, it is the wind that howls across the plateau, carrying snow and ice like a living force. On distant moons, it is silence that dominates, a black void broken only by the hum of instruments. In both realms, the human presence is small, fragile, yet stubbornly persistent. Explorers and scientists experience this fragility acutely. Every day, beneath the ice is a negotiation with the environment, a battle against cold, isolation, and uncertainty. The mind strains against monotony, against the vastness of emptiness, seeking meaning where none is immediately visible. And yet, within this challenge, discovery emerges. Isolation is profound in subglacial research. Teams endure weeks or months with minimal contact with the outside world, dependent on technology for survival, communication, and safety. In this solitude, every observation takes on amplified significance. A single data anomaly, a subtle change in chemical readings, can carry the weight of months of effort. The frozen world around them is indifferent, immense, and unyielding. Yet within this harshness, human resilience shines. Small victories, a successful borehole, a viable sample, a new microbial colony identified, become monumental. Triumph is measured not by conquest, but by persistence and patience. Beyond the physical challenges lies the psychological weight of exploration. In the silence beneath the ice, scientists confront not only the environment, but themselves. Questions emerge. What is the cost of curiosity? How far should we intrude into worlds that have remained untouched for millennia? And yet, the drive to know, to understand, to witness life in its most subtle forms is irresistible. In the face of isolation and danger, they persevere, motivated by awe, by the knowledge that they are participating in a story older and larger than themselves. Each mission is a testament to human courage tempered by humility. Risk is ever present. Machinery can fail, storms can trap teams, and temperatures can drop beyond survivable limits. On Europa or Enceladus, the stakes are multiplied. One miscalculation, one breach in protocol, could destroy instruments or contaminate pristine environments. Yet, this risk is embraced, because the potential for discovery outweighs fear. Humans are drawn to extremes not out of recklessness, but out of a fundamental need to understand, to reach beyond the familiar. And it is precisely in this tension, between danger and curiosity, fear and hope, that the spirit of exploration is forged. Emotion threads through every decision, every observation, every small victory. When a subglacial lake yields life, when a plume on Enceladus confirms chemical complexity, or when Europa's ice reveals thermal anomalies, it is not merely science being conducted. It is a conversation with the universe, a dialogue across time and space, connecting humanity to hidden oceans and ancient persistence. In these moments, awe and humility converge, creating an emotional resonance that lingers long after the instruments are packed away and the team returns to familiar ground. The cinematic imagery mirrors this emotional journey. Camera pans over endless Antarctic ice, winds whipping snow into ethereal patterns, auroras painting the sky with fleeting, ghostly light. Then the view shifts to Europa, its fractured surface glowing faintly, silent but alive with unseen currents. Enceladus erupts in quiet, rhythmic geysers, stark against the black void, each plume a delicate testament to energy and persistence. The visuals reinforce a truth discovered on Earth and echoed across the solar system. Life, or its potential, thrives in isolation, in darkness, in environments that challenge endurance and patience. Philosophically, the exploration of hidden oceans forces reflection on humanity's relationship to the universe. We are both observers and participants, tasked with understanding while respecting the integrity of environments we may never fully know. The ethical weight of discovery is immense. Each mission carries responsibility to avoid contamination, to preserve pristine conditions, to honor the delicate balance of life where it exists. The explorer's challenge is not only scientific, but moral, a test of foresight, patience, and restraint. In the quiet moments between experiments, the human mind wanders, connecting dots between Earth and the cosmos. A scientist staring at a frozen lake might imagine Europa's currents. A researcher sampling ice from a borehole might envision Enceladus's plumes. The emotional bridge is subtle but profound. We see resilience mirrored across worlds, the persistence of life reflected in environments both familiar and alien. Exploration is not only about finding life, but about understanding endurance, adaptation, and the intimate connection between environment and existence. As the narrative builds, the cinematic rhythm intensifies. Music swells as we move from the Antarctic plateau to orbiting moons, the visuals linking ice, water, and life. The narrator's voice cuts through the quiet tension. To explore is to confront ourselves, our fears, our limits, our longing to know. Beneath ice, in darkness, on worlds beyond our sun, we witness the persistence of life. And in that witnessing, we discover not only the universe, but the depths of our own courage, humility, and wonder. The audience is left suspended between admiration and reflection, witnessing not only the scientific achievements, but the emotional and philosophical resonance of extreme exploration. Humanity is small, yet persistent, fragile, yet capable of endurance. The frozen lakes of Antarctica, the subsurface oceans of Europa, and the geysers of Enceladus all tell the same story. Life persists, and in doing so, teaches us about the meaning of persistence, the way of curiosity, and the quiet majesty of endurance. The chapter closes with a wide, lingering shot. Antarctica's ice stretches infinitely beneath a sky alive with auroras. Europa rotates in silent orbit around Jupiter, and Enceladus spews its plumes into the blackness. The music fades to a subtle heartbeat, echoing the rhythm of hidden oceans both on Earth and in space. The narrator concludes softly. In the pursuit of the unknown, we discover not only life, but our own place within it. We are explorers, students, witnesses, connected to the persistence of existence that threads from our frozen lakes to the distant oceans of moons we have yet to touch. And in that connection, we find meaning, awe, and the enduring spirit of exploration. The edge of understanding is not defined by sight, but by patience. In Antarctica, the ice stretches endlessly, a white canvas under skies streaked with auroras. Beneath that frozen expanse lie lakes untouched for millions of years, pockets of liquid-carrying life that survived in isolation, darkness, and extreme pressure. To reach them, humans must endure wind, cold, and solitude, relying on ingenuity, perseverance, and a delicate respect for the fragile ecosystems they uncover. Every borehole drilled, every sample collected, is an act of reverence, a bridge between human curiosity and the persistence of life itself. The lessons of Earth are mirrored across the solar system. Europa rotates silently in its orbit around Jupiter, its fractured surface glowing faintly as tidal forces flex the ice. Beneath lies a hidden ocean, warmed by the planet's gravity, carrying energy and nutrients that could sustain life. Enceladus, smaller but no less profound, erupts its plumes into the void, revealing chemical compositions that hint at active liquid water beneath the frozen crust. These moons are not merely distant objects. They are extensions of the same narrative found beneath Antarctic ice, environments where life, if it exists, must be resilient, patient, and subtle. Exploration, therefore, is a dialogue across worlds. Humans venture into extremes not to conquer, but to witness, to understand. Each instrument reading, each microscopic organism discovered, each plume sampled, carries information about endurance, adaptation, and persistence. In the silence of Antarctica or the void of space, the observer becomes both student and participant, learning from the quiet lessons of survival written in water, ice, and chemistry. The narrative of life unfolds not only in grand gestures, but in small, deliberate persistence. A microbe clinging to rock, a plume rising hundreds of kilometers, an ocean hidden beneath kilometers of ice. Emotion is inseparable from this pursuit. The isolation, danger, and uncertainty weigh heavily, but they sharpen awareness, heighten awe, and deepen reverence. Scientists describe moments of silence beneath ice as profound, almost sacred. There is no applause, no immediate recognition, only the slow, steady realization that life, against all odds, persists. That persistence is mirrored on distant moons, where instruments measure the faintest thermal anomalies or detect chemical gradients in invisible plumes. The thrill is not in discovery alone, but in participating in a continuum of existence, a story that transcends individual human life. Humanity's search for life, from Earth to Europa and Enceladus, is as much about reflection as it is about exploration. What does it mean to witness resilience? What does it mean to understand that life is patient, enduring, and subtle? Each discovery reframes our perspective, revealing that life is not defined by visibility, comfort, or dominance, but by the quiet persistence to endure, adapt, and thrive. In that realization lies humility and awe, the understanding that we are part of a greater story, one written not in headlines or accolades, but in water, ice, and the rhythms of existence itself. The cinematic narrative rises as imagery connects Earth to the cosmos. Antarctica's ice fields stretch beneath auroras, the hidden lakes sparkling faintly in thermal maps. Europa's fractures glow softly under Jupiter's light, hinting at the liquid world beneath. Enceladus erupts its plumes against the darkness, arcs of ice tracing invisible paths toward Saturn. The frame unites these worlds in a single vision: persistence, endurance, and the quiet, persistent possibility of life. Music swells, carrying the heartbeat of hidden oceans across light years, bridging Earth and the distant moons in a single emotional current. Philosophically, the resonance is profound. Humans are witnesses, interpreters, and students. The frozen lakes, the hidden oceans, the geysers in space, they all convey the same truth. Life, once sparked, endures. It adapts, it persists, it waits. The cosmos, as revealed through exploration, is not barren or indifferent. It is patient, deliberate, and alive in ways that challenge perception. Humanity's role is not to dominate, but to understand, to respect, and to marvel. Exploration is a conversation with time, environment, and existence itself. The narrator's voice rises gently, bridging science and poetry. We look to the farthest reaches of our planet, to oceans sealed beneath ice, and then beyond, to moons that spin silently in the void. In every hidden water, life persists, resilient, patient, enduring. And as we search, we discover that our quest is not merely for life elsewhere, but for understanding of the universe, of persistence, of our own place within a cosmos that remembers, that endures, and that quietly hums with existence. The final sequences of Chapter 4 linger on human faces. The scientists at their instruments, eyes reflecting both awe and fatigue, hands delicately handling samples, steady with reverence. moments of quiet reflection under Antarctic auroras. Then the view transitions to the icy moons, emphasizing continuity between worlds. The heartbeat of life beneath Antarctica subtly merges with the imagined rhythms of Europa and Enceladus, creating a cinematic bridge between Earth and the cosmos. Chapter 4 closes with a lingering visual and auditory motif: ice, water, and silence, punctuated by subtle pulses that echo the persistence of life. Humanity's presence is small, tentative, yet deeply significant. The narrative leaves the audience suspended, contemplating endurance, connection, and the quiet wonder of discovery. Life endures, patiently and persistently. It persists in hidden lakes, beneath frozen moons, and within the curiosity that drives us to explore. And in understanding that persistence, we understand ourselves. The horizon of exploration is no longer limited to the edges of our planet. Antarctica's frozen lakes were once the ultimate frontier, places humanity could scarcely imagine penetrating. Now, as probes orbit icy moons, as missions prepare to descend through kilometers of ice on Europa or fly through the geysers of Enceladus, the frontier expands into the cosmos itself. Yet the essence of discovery remains the same: curiosity, patience, and reverence. The same principles that guide scientists drilling beneath Earth's ice guide engineers and researchers preparing to reach oceans hundreds of millions of kilometers away. The unknown, whether beneath Antarctic ice or an alien crust, demands persistence, humility, and imagination. The technologies that enable this exploration are remarkable in their precision and subtlety. Sterile drills and instruments, designed to prevent contamination, allow scientists to collect water samples that may contain microorganisms billions of years old. Orbiting spacecraft measure magnetic fields, thermal anomalies, and chemical plumes, translating invisible signals into data that hint at the presence of hidden oceans. Every tool, every probe, every sensor is a bridge between human curiosity and environments untouched by human hands. And yet, for all the technological sophistication, it is human patience, judgment, and intuition that transform data into understanding, measurements into narrative, and science into meaning. Humanity's engagement with these frontiers is also an emotional journey. Antarctica's lakes test endurance, focus, and the ability to remain calm in the face of extreme conditions. Long periods of isolation, the relentless cold, and the knowledge that one is alone with fragile ecosystems create a psychological pressure that rivals any physical challenge. Each breakthrough, the detection of microbial life, the extraction of pristine water, the confirmation of ancient chemical pathways, brings relief, awe, and humility. It is a reminder that exploration is as much about the resilience of the human spirit as it is about the resilience of life itself. As our gaze extends to Europa and Enceladus, the emotional stakes shift but remain equally profound. The oceans beneath ice are unreachable by human hands, yet our instruments carry our curiosity into their depths. Each plume analyzed, each subtle anomaly detected, is a whisper from an alien ocean, hinting at ecosystems that may have endured for billions of years. Scientists describe a sense of connection with these distant worlds, a realization that humanity is participating in a story of persistence that stretches across space and time. These emotions, awe, wonder, anticipation, and humility, transform exploration from a technical pursuit into a profound narrative of meaning and reflection. The philosophical implications are staggering. Life on Earth, resilient in extreme environments, suggests that the cosmos may be inherently predisposed to foster persistence. Subglacial lakes reveal that life can survive in isolation, darkness, and extreme pressure, adapting to conditions that would seem impossible. Europa and Enceladus suggest that these principles are universal. If life emerges where conditions allow, then the universe may not be empty, but quietly alive in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. This realization reframes our understanding of existence. Life is not rare. It is patient, adaptive, and enduring, waiting for the conditions to allow it to flourish. The cinematic narrative reinforces this connection. Antarctica's ice stretches into infinity, auroras painting the sky in shifting colors. Water hidden beneath glacial layers, glowing faintly in thermal imagery. Europa's icy surface fractures across the blackness of space, faintly illuminated by Jupiter's reflected light, while Enceladus erupts delicate plumes into the void, each a tiny testament to energy and persistence. Music swells, carrying the heartbeat of hidden oceans, linking Earth to alien worlds in a seamless emotional current. Humanity, small and fragile, stands as witness and participant, bridging the gap between observation and understanding. The narrative also turns to the future of exploration. Missions are being planned with ever-increasing sophistication. Orbiters capable of detailed surface scans, landers designed to drill into ice without contamination, autonomous systems that can analyze chemical composition in real time. Yet, technological advancement is only half the story. The human qualities that make these missions meaningful, patience, judgment, imagination, and ethical responsibility, remain critical. The challenge is not merely to reach these oceans, but to do so in a way that respects their isolation, preserves their integrity, and honors the subtle forms of life that may reside within. There is also a broader cultural resonance. Humanity's quest to uncover life beneath ice, whether on Earth or on distant moons, is a reflection of our innate desire to understand our origins, our place in the cosmos, and the nature of life itself. Each discovery expands our perspective, revealing that life is not limited to sunlight or warmth, nor is it fragile in the face of adversity. Instead, life is persistent, adaptable, patient, and enduring, a principle that extends from the microbial colonies beneath Antarctic ice to the potential ecosystems hidden beneath Europa's crust. In this way, exploration becomes both a scientific and spiritual journey, connecting the mind, the heart, and the imagination. The narrator's voice softens, carrying both awe and reflection. As we push beyond ice, we encounter not only other worlds, but the deeper truth about life itself, its endurance, its adaptability, its quiet persistence. From the frozen lakes of our own planet to oceans beneath distant moons, life teaches us that existence is patient, resilient, and miraculous. And in seeking it, we discover not only what may lie beyond, but the enduring spirit within ourselves. The chapter closes with imagery that bridges Earth and space. Antarctica's frozen expanse dissolves into the icy fractures of Europa. Then the erupting plumes of Enceladus, all linked by subtle pulses that echo the heartbeat of hidden oceans. The audience is left suspended between awe and contemplation, reflecting on the interwoven narrative of life, persistence, exploration, and discovery. Humanity is small, yet connected, fragile, yet resilient, and profoundly capable of understanding its place in a universe that remembers, endures, and quietly hums with existence. The universe stretches beyond comprehension, vast, silent, and patient. Yet even in that immensity, connections emerge. Antarctica's frozen lakes, hidden beneath kilometers of ice, reveal that life endures where it is least expected. Europa and Enceladus whisper similar stories. Oceans concealed beneath ice that may harbor forms of life adapted to darkness, pressure, and isolation. In every case, the principle is the same. Persistence, patience, and subtle adaptation define existence. Humanity's role is not to dominate, but to witness, to understand, and to reflect upon what we see. In this act of exploration, we find not only life elsewhere, but a deeper understanding of our own place in the cosmos. The final chapter of discovery is also one of reflection. Scientists and explorers return from Antarctic expeditions forever changed. The knowledge that life persists under extreme conditions alters not only their work, but their perception of existence itself. They carry lessons of patience, humility, and reverence for systems older and more resilient than any human endeavor. These lessons inform the design of space missions, guiding humanity in its approach to the hidden oceans of distant moons. Exploration becomes a bridge across disciplines and environments, linking microbiology, planetary science, engineering, and philosophy in a single pursuit, understanding the endurance of life in all its forms. Emotion threads through every image and measurement. The isolated research stations, the boreholes drilling into ancient ice, the careful extraction of water samples all convey both fragility and resilience. On Europa, instruments detect subtle thermal anomalies. On Enceladus, plumes erupt with perfect regularity. Each signal is a whisper from a hidden ocean, an echo of life's persistence, a reflection of the lessons learned on Earth. The emotional weight is profound. Awe at the scale, humility in the face of time, wonder at the subtle persistence of life. Humans witness, interpret, and connect, bridging the gap between isolation and understanding, between discovery and reflection. Philosophically, this journey challenges the human perspective. Life is not always grand or visible. It is subtle, patient, enduring. Microbes beneath Antarctic ice, hypothetical organisms beneath Europa's crust, and chemical ecosystems within Enceladus oceans all demonstrate that persistence, not dominance, is life's enduring principle. Humanity's search for life becomes a mirror, revealing not only the universe's potential for resilience, but also the qualities that define our own survival: curiosity, patience, humility, and the ability to listen. The act of exploration is thus inseparable from reflection, blending science with philosophy, observation with insight, and discovery with understanding. The cinematic narrative builds as visuals sweep across worlds. Antarctica glows beneath auroras, subglacial lakes hinted at in thermal imagery. Europa rotates slowly, fractures tracing the pathways of hidden oceans. Enceladus erupts in delicate jets of ice, arcing through the blackness of space. Music swells, carrying the heartbeat of hidden waters, linking Earth to alien worlds in a seamless emotional current. Humanity, though small and fragile, stands as witness to this persistence, bridging the gap between observation, understanding, and reverence. The narrative turns toward the future. As missions grow more sophisticated, humanity inches closer to directly observing life beneath alien ice. Orbiters, landers, and autonomous instruments will probe these oceans, capturing chemical signals, thermal data, and perhaps even traces of life itself. Yet, even as technology advances, the principles remain constant: patience, ethical responsibility, precision, and humility. Exploration is not conquest. It is dialogue, observation, and stewardship. We are part of a continuum, participants in a story that spans Earth and the cosmos, bridging time, space, and life itself. The emotional crescendo is reflected in the human dimension. Each scientist, engineer, and explorer carries the weight of responsibility and the thrill of wonder. Antarctica taught endurance. Europa and Enceladus offer mystery. Together, they create a continuum of exploration, where human curiosity, ingenuity, and reverence meet the persistence of life in extreme conditions. Every discovery, every plume, every sample, every measurement is a testament to the interconnectedness of existence, the subtle poetry of life, and the enduring spirit of inquiry that drives humanity forward. The narrator's voice softens, carrying awe and reflection. Life endures where we cannot see it, beneath ice, beneath oceans, and perhaps beneath moons orbiting distant planets. And in witnessing that endurance, we discover the rhythm of persistence, the quiet strength of existence, and the profound connection between our world and the cosmos. Exploration teaches us patience, humility, and reverence. It shows us that life, once sparked, endures, quietly, resiliently, eternally. The imagery lingers. Antarctica's frozen expanse merges into Europa's fractured ice and the erupting plumes of Enceladus. Subglacial lakes, hidden oceans, and distant moons are connected by a subtle pulse, the heartbeat of life's persistence. Music swells gently, echoing across light years, uniting Earth and the solar system in a cinematic reflection of endurance, discovery, and awe. Humanity's role, though small, is meaningful. Witness, interpreter, and participant in the grand narrative of life itself. The documentary closes with a final poetic reflection, leaving the audience suspended in wonder and contemplation. We have looked beneath ice and beyond worlds, and in doing so, we have glimpsed the persistence of life itself. It is patient, subtle, enduring. From the frozen lakes beneath Antarctica to the hidden oceans of distant moons, life whispers across time and space. And as we seek it, we discover not only what exists beyond, but the enduring spirit within ourselves, curious, resilient, and forever reaching toward the unknown. The frame fades to black slowly, leaving a lingering sense of awe, reflection, and infinite possibility.